Movie Colony Hotel, the first modern hotel out here.
Are these very expensive hotels?
Yeah, some of them are, and some of them aren't. It just depends. Depends a lot on when you come out here.
Okay.
So, let me tell you how and why Palm Springs became Palm Springs.
Mm-hmm.
How and why it's developed the way it has. Back in the 30s, the stars were virtually owned by the studios. They were told what to do, when to do it, who they could date, who they couldn't date. They were tied up by a code of conduct in a contract that they had to sign, and if they violated the terms of their contract, they could be fined, they could lose a role in the movie, they could lose their jobs, their careers. It was serious business back then. In the code of conduct, it stated that anytime the stars were in public, they had to be on their best behavior, they couldn't drink, had to dress well, look good, give autographs to their fans on demand, give interviews and pictures to the press on demand. In other words, they could do anything they wanted except be themselves.
Yeah.
They were always on, always working, always doing PR. A couple of guys back then, and we're talking 1936 right now, a guy named Charlie Farrell, big radio star,
Yeah.
and Howard Duff, a up-and-coming actor, took it upon themselves to jump in their cars every weekend and go within a 2-hour radius looking for a place their friends can get away, let their hair down, and party hardy. The reason was there was a clause in the contract that stated that they had to be on call within 2 hours at all times. So they were always tied up there, and they couldn't do anything they wanted to do. So Charlie Farrell looked and looked and looked and found this little town back in 1936 called Palm Springs. And it was beautiful weather, small population back then, about 1,500 is all, mainly consisting of the Indian tribes and the laborers that were harvesting dates and getting them in the market. And no movie theater. And he thought, wow, this could work. There was no TV in the 30s. If there's no movie theater, he figured Cary Grant could walk right downtown and nobody would know who he was. And they were right. The problem was there was no place to stay at that time, just little shacks. So Charlie Farrell built a place called the Racket Club, later known as the famous Racket Club. It consisted of a restaurant, nightclub, bar, a ballroom, tennis court, swimming pool, and 10 bungalows in the back that he rented out to his rich and famous acting friends. And they came out here and loved it. Loved the weather, loved the anonymity, and started inviting their friends. Their friends loved it, started throwing parties, and nobody got busted. It worked. As the year progressed, more and more friends came out, more and more parties were held. And by the end of 1936, all 10 of those bungalows that they built were rented or reserved for over a year and a half in advance. And again, no place to stay. So they started building second homes out here over the years. And then first homes, as a lot of them started retiring out here. And they built up against these mountains. And this is the movie colony we're going to be going into. More people came out in 37, more in 38, more in 39. By 1939, tourists stumbled onto this place, and they dubbed it the playground of the stars. And indeed it was. Everybody who was anybody came out here, and then the rest of the world found out about it. In 1941, the world was reading about Palm Springs and all the actors out here, and by the end of 1941, Palm Springs became the #1 tourist destination in the world. And everybody started coming out here, building homes and using this as a place to get away. And then all the rest of the tourists found out about it. And it's always, we're between #3 and #7 as far as tourist destinations to this day.
Okay.